In the small town where Christina and Brandon lived, the frantic pace of modern life mixed with the charm of a close-knit community. The tree-lined streets and colourful houses created a welcoming setting, but behind the well-kept facades, many families faced silent challenges. Christina, a 35-year-old woman with brown hair always tied in a hurried ponytail, had eyes that once sparkled with joy, but now reflected the fatigue of her exhausting routine. Mother of 3 children, Lucas, 7 years old, Sophie, 5, and little Theo, 2. She juggled household chores and her work as a freelance designer. Her day began before sunrise, preparing breakfast, packing backpacks, and ensuring everyone was ready for their respective activities. While the children were at school, she immersed herself in her design projects, constantly interrupted by endless household tasks. In the afternoon, it was a rush to pick up the children, help with homework, prepare dinner, and get everyone to bed. Brandon, her 37-year-old husband, was a man with an easy smile that had rarely appeared lately. He worked at a local company, leaving home before the children woke up and often returning after dinner. His job, although stable, barely covered the family's expenses, leaving him constantly worried about finances. The couple met in college, a romance that quickly blossomed and led them to the altar a few years later. The early years of marriage were filled with dreams and plans for the future. They envisioned trips, a bigger house, family leisure moments. But reality proved to be quite different from what they had planned. With the arrival of children and growing financial responsibilities, time for romance became scarce. Intimate conversations were replaced by discussions about bills to pay and children's commitments. Warm hugs gave way to hurried bump-ins in the kitchen in the morning. That autumn afternoon, as the golden leaves slowly fell from the local park trees, Christina met her longtime friend, Olivia, for coffee. The comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air of the small cafe, a cozy refuge from the outside world. Olivia, a woman with a warm smile and understanding eyes, immediately noticed Christina's downcast demeanour. "You look exhausted, dear. Is everything okay?" Christina sighed deeply, spinning the coffee cup in her hands. "I'm tired, so tired that sometimes I feel like I can't take it anymore." "Isn't Brandon helping at home?" Olivia asked gently. "He gets home late, always exhausted. We barely have time to talk. When we're finally together, we're either too tired to speak or end up arguing about money." Christina felt tears forming at the corners of her eyes. I'm thinking about asking for a divorce. I think we're no longer a couple. No matter how much I talk to him, nothing changes." Olivia remained silent for a moment, carefully choosing her words. "Chris, sometimes you don't hate each other. You just have too many problems and are tired. Have you tried talking about it? Really talking?" Olivia's words echoed in Christina's mind all the way home. She felt invisible, alone in her own marriage. Brandon was no longer the caring and attentive man she had known. The coldness between them grew each day, fueling insecurities and fears that Christina had never experienced before. That night, when Brandon got home, the usual chaos greeted them. Lucas ran to show a drawing he had made at school, Sophie asked for help with a complex puzzle, and little Theo whined, wanting to be held. Christina watched her husband try to maintain his composure, smiling wearily at the children as he bent down to hug them. For a brief moment, their eyes met, and Christina saw something in Brandon's eyes that surprised her. Not indifference, as she feared, but a mix of exhaustion and something else. Something she couldn't decipher. After the children finally fell asleep late at night, Brandon sank into the sofa, exhausted, sliding his finger across the phone screen. Christina watched him from a distance, feeling a strange tightness in her chest when she saw a soft smile form on his lips. It wasn't just any smile. It was one of those sincere ones that appear when someone sees something that truly warms the heart. But what was he seeing? Who was he talking to? Doubt settled in, cold and uncomfortable. When Brandon went to take a shower, leaving the phone on the dresser, Christina felt the urge growing inside her. Her heart was pounding erratically, her hands trembling, but curiosity, or maybe fear, was stronger. She grabbed the device, unlocked it, and held her breath when she saw what was on the screen. There was an open video. And there she was, appearing right there, laughing, her eyes shining with happiness as she rocked Theo in her arms. Sophie and Lucas were running around the room, their childish laughter filling the space. But what truly disarmed her was Brandon's voice, low and full of a tenderness she hadn't seen in a long time. "That's the woman of my life." The phrase echoed inside her, shattering all the assumptions her mind had created. Christina moved on to the next video, and then another and yet another. Small fragments of everyday life, moments she barely remembered. Her humming distractedly while preparing breakfast, helping Sophie tie her shoes with patience, cradling Theo in the middle of the night, her eyes heavy with sleep. In every video, Brandon was there, watching, admiring, loving. She didn't even notice when the tears started to fall. When Brandon came out of the bathroom, he found Christina sitting on the bed, holding the phone with trembling hands and teary eyes. He paused for a moment, analyzing the scene. There was no immediate anger in his gaze, but neither was there relief. Just a heavy exhaustion, something indefinable hovering between them. Christina took a deep breath before speaking. "I'm sorry for going through your phone." Her voice came out quieter than she intended. Brandon rubbed the back of his neck, sighing. "I don't even know what to say." It seemed like he had already expected this. The silence that followed was not comfortable. It wasn't a silence of understanding, but of things left unsaid, of years of missed connections and words that were never spoken in the right way. She lowered her eyes, feeling the weight of everything they hadn't talked about. "I feel so alone, Brandon, as if we're living side by side, but not really seeing each other." Brandon rubbed his face with his hands, exhausted. "And you think I don't feel it? I spend all my time worrying, trying to handle everything, trying not to let you and the kids down. And in the end, it feels like nothing is enough." For a moment, no one said anything. They just breathed the same air, feeling each other's presence in a way they hadn't for a long time. It was Christina who broke the silence. "Why do you record those videos?" Brandon closed his eyes, as if gathering courage. "Because sometimes, when I'm at work, feeling like I'm not enough, like I'm not providing the life you deserve, I watch those videos. They remind me of why I work so hard, of what really matters." Christina felt her heart tighten. I didn't know you felt that way. "And I didn't know you were considering divorce," Brandon responded with a voice that carried a hurt she hadn't expected, causing Christina to freeze. "How did you—" she stammered. "I heard you on the phone with Olivia the other day," he admitted. "I was very hurt, wondering if that was what I wanted too. I couldn't even talk to you. That's why I started watching those videos more, trying to remember where we went wrong, where I went wrong." She hesitated before taking his hand, their fingers slowly intertwining. "I didn't want it to come to this." Brandon squeezed her hand firmly but without urgency. "Neither did I." "I miss us," Christina murmured, leaning her head on Brandon's shoulder. That disarmed him. "I do too," he replied, softly kissing the top of her head. "But we're still here, aren't we? Maybe a little lost, but still together." That night they didn't resolve everything. They didn't reconcile completely. But for the first time in a long time, they truly talked. No masks, no rehearsed speeches, just two weary hearts, trying to figure out if they still knew the way back to each other. But after that day, together they began to devise a plan. Small changes that could make a big difference. They decided to hire a babysitter for a few hours a week, giving Christina some uninterrupted time to focus on work and allowing Brandon to come home earlier occasionally. They planned date nights, even if it was just to watch a movie on the couch after the kids went to sleep. Brandon promised to be more involved in the household chores, while Christina committed to being more understanding of the pressures he faced at work. Most importantly, they promised each other that they would never let silence grow between them again. That they would talk about their feelings, fears and dreams, no matter how difficult it might be. "We will never let the word divorce enter this house again," Christina whispered, feeling lighter than she had in years. Brandon nodded, squeezing her hand. "No matter the adversity, we will face it together. Always." In the days and weeks that followed, Christina and Brandon worked hard to keep their promises. It wasn't easy. Old habits are hard to break, and there were moments of frustration and setbacks, but there were also moments of rediscovered joy. Like when Brandon came home early one afternoon and surprised Christina with an impromptu picnic in the backyard, the kids running and laughing around them. Or when Christina woke Brandon in the middle of the night just to say, "I love you," something she hadn't done in years. Slowly, the love that seemed to have been lost in the whirlwind of everyday life began to blossom again. It wasn't the idealized and passionate love of their early years together, but something deeper, more resilient. A love tempered by hardships, strengthened by mutual understanding, and by the commitment to face life's challenges together. One night, months after that conversation that changed everything, Christina found Brandon in the backyard, thoughtfully gazing at the stars. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, wrapping her arms around his waist. Brandon smiled, pulling her closer. "I'm thinking about how lucky we are. Not because our life is perfect or easy, but because we choose to fight for us every day." Christina nodded, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over her. "You know, I almost threw it all away. If I hadn't watched those videos." "Maybe it wasn't the videos," Brandon reflected. "Maybe it was the love that was always there, waiting for us to notice it again." Christina and Brandon quietly renewed their commitment to each other. Not with grand gestures or lofty promises, but with the quiet assurance that no matter what life might bring, they would face it together. And so, in their modest home, with 3 children sleeping inside and a pile of bills to pay on the kitchen table, Christina and Brandon rediscovered the true meaning of love. A love that does not depend on perfect circumstances or grand moments, but that is strengthened in small daily kindnesses, mutual understanding, and the constant choice to remain side by side, facing life's joys and challenges together. And the lesson they learned was simple, yet profound. Love is not something that is suddenly lost, but something that can be forgotten amidst the rush. Taking care of it requires attention, dialogue, and above all, the daily choice to prioritize each other even when life seems to want to pull them apart. Because in the end, love is not just a feeling, it's a decision that is renewed every day. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.